Community Bank of Dublin Lawrence County is here to help you with all of your financial needs. Our team knows what it takes to make life easy and convenient and will help you get set up with our mobile and online banking. We founded Community Bank on common sense banking and a dedication to help people just like you. Our lender, Amy Thompson, loan officer, Gail Rainey, along with our Assistant Vice President, Ryan Lastinger, Executive Vice President, Brian Bazemore, and President CEO, Chuck Harwell, know what it takes to make life easy and convenient and can help you with loans for almost everything, from your automobile, home, land, or any financial goals you have. Come visit us today. Community Bank of Dublin Lawrence County, where common sense banking never goes out of style.
Sentra, Titan, Altima, Rogue. Dublin Nissan is the place for your winning deal. This Titan is up to $10,000 off MSRP.
Come to Dublin Nissan and get more car for your money.
And more money for your car.
This Sentra is over $3,500 off MSRP.
A great deal doesn't take luck, just a trip to Dublin Nissan. Call, click, or come see us.
Dublin Nissan, the only dealer you will ever need.
Where's my green jacket?
Welcome to Chamber Talk. We got another great show for you today. I'm honored to have my good friend Chris Clark, President and CEO at the Georgia Chamber of Commerce, as my guest today. Chris, thank you for taking time out to join us today.
He's happy to do it. Thanks for having us.
Hey, Chris, for our viewers today, just in case, we spend a lot of time, and I think we do a pretty good job around here locally, talking about the Dublin Lawrence Chamber of Commerce and how we conduct business and work with our business leaders here. But just in case there's someone watching today that is not aware, give us a brief overview of the Georgia Chamber and the impact that you guys have throughout the state.
Sure, Heath, absolutely. And listen, we can't do what we do at the state level without you guys doing it at the local level. So it really is a great partnership. But our organization is a 105-year-old organization, and we were founded to help rural communities with economic development and to represent businesses at the Georgia Capitol and in Washington. And so we've been doing that for 105 years. We represent 50,000 members in 159 counties, 163 local and binational chambers of commerce. And when we divide up what we do, we really talk about it in these terms, that we are fierce advocates for free enterprise and job creation. So we're lobbying on your behalf at the Capitol and in Washington, that we're out there every day trying to provide good business intelligence so our members can mitigate their risk and take advantage of opportunities. We are working on policy issues every day through the Georgia Chamber Foundation. We have a political arm of the chamber that's recruiting candidates to run for office. We joke we're not nonpartisan, we're business partisan. So we want candidates that are looking to help grow the economy and help small business. We also provide a lot of services as well, including, I think, the most important service, which is our Chamber Smart Plan, which is an insurance program for companies under 50 employees. And got lots of folks in your community that take advantage of the savings from that Anthem healthcare plan through their membership in your chamber, which gives them access to that plan. And so we do that, and then obviously our partnership with our local chambers is critical to all the work that we do every day.
Chris, I appreciate you mentioning that. I feel like almost you could see my notes on my desk in front of me here. I did want to make sure that we gave a plug to that Chamber Smart Plan. I had Darren Keene on the show recently, and he is one of our partners. And he has certainly written that plan for many of our local folks here. So it is a really good time for folks to make sure that they have insurance, that they have proper coverage, and the Chamber Smart Plan is a great way for businesses to save money to help their employees. So, Chris, with a lot of shows right now, we've done many shows on this COVID-19 and this epidemic and the efforts. And I know over the weekend, we had some legislation that was finally passed, and there's a lot of confusion with the grant, with the loan. What's the difference in the two? Can you give me your best explanation maybe for our viewers?
I'll give you my best explanation, but it's subject to change in the next few hours. I do think we're living in a world where things change literally hour by hour. What we start working on in the morning at the Georgia Chamber to provide the best information really changes by lunch and again by 5 o'clock. We have had two very good calls, though, with Senator Loeffler and Senator Perdue. We have another call tomorrow with SBA Administrator and Senator Perdue. But let me kind of break it down a couple of ways. So first of all, because of the work of Governor Kemp and President Trump, all small businesses in Georgia can apply for emergency disaster loans from the SBA. Those loans were available 2 weeks ago. You can go to our COVID-19 landing page and get the application. I'm sure that you got it on the Dublin Chamber page as well. Now, we don't know all the ins and outs of that loan yet, but it's the same loan that you would get if there was a natural disaster, a tornado or a hurricane came through your community. Those interest rates that I'm hearing right now are going to be sub 3%. Some of those loans are 3 to 5 years. There's talk about some of them maybe even being as much as 30-year loans, but that's not clarified yet. And so those loans have been there. Now that the Governor Kemp has done the declaration, your businesses can go apply for that. Now, the other bill that passed, which is the Senate bill, which they call Phase 3, that's the one that you got lots and lots of different moving parts. And so here's what we understand. That there will be additional funds going toward the SBA for those loans that I just described. So there'll be a larger pool of those loan dollars there to help. Now, the other loans, and some people are calling them grants, and I don't like that term because I don't think it accurately reflects the intent of the bill, but the new Senate bill will actually have some loans available through your local banks. Those will be promulgated by the Federal Reserve, some maybe through the SBA as well. Now, here's what we believe about those bills today. And again, these rules are still being written. They were being written all weekend. We were talking to the Fed Reserve on Saturday about them here in Georgia. So the intent of that bill is that you can go in there, you can get a loan from your local bank, be supported by the Federal Reserve through this federal bill. And if you keep your employees through the end of September, so you don't have any layoffs there, you keep them attached. What they want is they want companies and employees to stay attached. So if you keep your employees attached, then you'll actually be able to write off the cost of their salaries, and you don't have to repay that part at the end of this. And so they're trying to reward small businesses and all businesses for that matter to keep people attached to the company so they keep their benefits. So I was asked earlier today in another interview, well, what if I laid off people a week or two ago? Well, my understanding is that you wouldn't be able to you could still get the loan, right? But you wouldn't be able to do the write-off of keeping them attached. Or if you started with them and you lay them off in 2 months, you've lost that ability to write that off. But again, those rules are in the process of being made. And so what I would really, really strongly recommend is that as soon as probably I'd say Wednesday to Thursday of this week, your members ought to be talking to their local banks. By that time, they should have at least an outline of the rules and regs. Originally, it was only going to be 7 large banks in the country that were going to provide that relief, but I'm very happy Senator Perdue told us the other day that they made sure that they write the laws and the regs so that all the banks that want to participate can go in and get access to those resources. And so I know it's not a definitive answer for you today. This is a moving target. We'll know a little bit more tomorrow and the day after, but the banks are going to be the critical ones for these new loans that are coming out. They should be, sub 3%, not sure at this point. But the other thing too, and I've talked to a lot of bank CEOs in Georgia in the last couple of weeks, our banks are as strong as they've ever been. And your local bank, they want to work with businesses to try to do everything possible to keep them open. And so I've heard of some really creative financing out there. We can't let our banks take bad loans, but for those businesses that have been good customers and have a good path forward and a good cash flow with a building, there are going to be opportunities out there for them. Again, SBA is going to have one product, and then your local banks are going to have the other product.
Fantastic, Chris, and that's great information. I appreciate you sharing that. I know you guys at the Georgia Chamber sent out an email to all of our local chambers earlier, And we have, of course, shared that information on our chamber website. So I hope if folks are watching the show and they have questions, not only can they go to the Dublin-Lawrence Chamber website, but they can certainly go to the Georgia Chamber of Commerce website as well. We're going to take a real quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with Georgia Chamber President and CEO Chris Clark.
I thought I'd lost my business in that fire, but my agent was there before the flames were out. He said, together, we're going to rebuild. Our employees depended on it. My independent agent and auto owners made sure we didn't skip a beat. I mean, we didn't miss a single payroll.
For whatever lies ahead, we're always there.
Curry Maffett Insurance, now located in downtown Dublin. Call 272-1234.
Riverview Golf Course, located on the beautiful Oconee River, is open to the public 7 days a week from 7 till 7, and you can play all day for just $25. Riverview Golf Course opened in the spring of 1977 and has been enjoyed by thousands since. Come on out to Riverview Golf Course today off Highway 19 at Riverview Drive, just 2 miles off I-16, exit 54. Riverview Golf Course in Dublin, making memories every day.
The City of Dublin's Natural Gas Department is offering a $1,000 rebate on the purchase of a natural gas, stove, furnace and tank or tankless water heater for new construction homes or if you're remodeling your home. Individual rebates include natural gas tankless, up to $400 rebate and free gas service installation. Natural gas tank, free 40-gallon or $200 rebate on other sizes, free gas service installation. Natural gas furnace, $200 rebate. Natural gas stove, $100 rebate. Natural gas dryer, $100 rebate. Natural gas grill, $100 rebate. Natural gas logs, $100 rebate. Maximum yearly rebate? No maximum. Save now. Save later. Call the City of Dublin Natural Gas at 277-5048.
Welcome back to the show. Again, I've got my friend and my partner here, Chris Clark, President and CEO at the Georgia Chamber of Commerce. And Chris and I are discussing the COVID-19 and some of the efforts around the state that are taking place. And Chris, if you could share with me statewide, what are we looking at as far as impact, small business and or maybe industry, and then maybe a little bit about labor and what's taking place there?
Sure. So I'll share, Heath. We did a poll of Georgia small businesses a week ago, and I thought it was interesting that at that point, a week ago today, actually, 36% of small businesses in Georgia had already halted some of their operations. So that might mean that they weren't allowing, groups to come in. I've talked to some retailers where they were literally allowing one person in the store at a time, with one salesperson on the floor at a time, just coming up with any model they could to follow those CDC guidelines and to follow what Governor Kemp has laid out. Here's where I get concerned, though, is 14% of our poll respondents said that they only had 3 months less of operating capital. 25% said they had 3 to 6 months, and 16% had 6 to 12 months. If you look at a national perspective right now, you're looking at most small businesses in the country have 27 to 45 days of cash on hand. And so now we're entering the third week of this for many people. Those dollars are running out. And I think what we saw last week, and on Friday, we were talking to Department of Labor Commissioner Mark Butler, who's been a great partner through all of this. And he told us that unemployment numbers in Georgia had went up 115% over where we were a week ago. And I think if you look at where the national trends are going, that I would imagine we keep pace with that for the next several weeks of adding about 100% increase a week. And so primarily what you're seeing are the small businesses get hit and lay off folks, our restaurant, a lot of our retail, even some of the big national chain retailers are shuttering stores indefinitely, and they're going to what they can do online. And so you're having impact there. We've talked to quite a few manufacturers in Georgia. Many of them have already, because they've been leaders on this, I'm sure your local manufacturers have as well, went to social distancing 2 or 3 weeks ago when Governor Kemp asked them to. And so they've been able to continue to operate, but with a 6-foot distance or with masks and gloves. And so we haven't seen the impact, quite as much as we have on small businesses with the large companies yet. But I think it's a matter of time. The longer that you shut down, the more difficult it's going to come. The other thing that's a struggle for businesses right now is that you do have, Governor Kemp, I think, has had a steady hand in all this. We appreciate his approach to this more than I can ever tell you. And what he has said very clearly was some communities are being hit harder, and so they're going to have different ordinances. And we support that. We've had calls about that already in the last couple of weeks about how local chambers should work with elected leaders. But where we get into trouble is where you have multiple cities in the same counties with different ordinances. And that's being very confusing to small businesses. It's confusing to employees. I'm supposed to shelter in place in my town, but where I work is not. And so I do think there's a lot of confusion in the marketplace. And I think it's important for local chambers to continue to work with elected leaders to get some clarity, particularly for our small businesses, as well as our essential industries, if things continue to get worse in Georgia.
And Chris, along those lines of, the changes and the different cities and neighbors, and I know we've got, multiple cities located here in Lawrence County, but throughout the state. And I want to back up just a second and say thank you again to you guys. You guys have been awesome, your team there, and I know you guys are working remotely and trying to make sure to adhere to the recommendations and all of the CDC, but you guys have been great keeping us informed and helping us keep our local partners and businesses and community citizens informed. And you guys have shared some things on some of these phone calls, different recommendations and things for smaller cities, rural cities, and even I'm sure the metro to follow. I've heard things about task force and other recommendations that you guys are sharing at the Georgia Chamber. Could you share some of those with our viewers?
So, two of the things that we feel are kind of critical for local chambers to think about. One is the preparedness and the reaction to what's happening right now. So, we've heard, 2 weeks ago, we started hearing from hospitals all over Georgia about the need for supplies. And so asking the local chambers to be that conduit between the business community and your local hospitals is absolutely critical. So we've seen a lot of chambers in Georgia set up operations to do that. And you'd be surprised, for example, we've got a lot of movie industry companies in Georgia that film, TV shows. Well, a lot of them film shows about healthcare and hospitals. And so we've been able to connect those shows with hospitals to say, hey, we're not going to use our mask and our gloves right now, or even our gowns. They were props for us, but they could save somebody's life. So let's connect them. And so I think that kind of work that you guys do locally is important. The other thing that we recommend is that you do have a task force locally, that you have a task force to help small businesses today. And you bring in accountants, you bring in your banks, you bring in your attorneys, you bring in your SBAs, your resource providers, and that you continue to do webinars and you put out information about how to handle today. But then at the same time, you've got to put on your economic hat, and we're encouraging local chambers to go ahead and put together a task force recovery task force group. I think this was very effective for a lot of communities after 2008 and after 9/11. We had one in Fayette County when I was running the Development Authority after 9/11 hit. I mean, you can't start too soon working with local governments to plan for June, July, August. The fact is we're in a recession now. Some people say, well, it's going to be a V-shaped recession, we'll come out of it quickly. I just don't think that that's going to be the case. I think it's going to be a U or even a swoosh that will take a little bit longer. But go ahead and think today, can you freeze property taxes? Can you make it easier for people to get their business license? Can you give forgiveness for people that during this crisis didn't renew their business license? What are all the things you can do locally? And I think what we'll see are your mayor and others will respond the appropriate way, but they need to hear from the business community. And it takes me back to 2010 as Georgia was coming out of the recession. We sat down with Governor Deal at the time and put together a competitiveness task force that went around the state. And our whole focus was what can government do to spur and increase economic activity? We passed 25 bills. Hundreds of communities around Georgia passed local ordinances at the same time. And all of that built up over a couple of years, a momentum that's now made us the best place to do business for 7 years in a row. And so the difference there is I think we waited until after the crisis struck in 2008. Now we can learn those lessons, and we can be in the middle of the crisis and go ahead, and government is, like we've seen with Governor Kemp, Secretary of State Raffensperger, we're already making changes now at the state level. What are those changes you can go ahead and start making at the local level so that you can minimize the depth of that recession and start things going again? I mean, yeah, people aren't going to show up for your business after hours or your business expos right now, let's face it. But come August, there'll be a huge pent-up demand and desire to do that work. And so planning for that now is going to pay dividends in the long run.
I think that's great advice, Chris, and I couldn't agree with you more. We're trying to look at those things and even plan ahead. Retention is a very important for us through the chamber industry, and 3 months from now, 4 months from now, when some of those invoices come due, we've got to be proactive and think of things that we can do to generate non-dues revenue as well as dues revenue, and estimating guess a little bit, what kind of drop off we may see there. But I think this is our time to shine. As the Chamber of Commerce, this is certainly the time for us to be there, to step up for our business community and our local community in general. And we've even reached out, and I talked with some of your team the other day to hear about recommendations around the state. We're making phone calls to people that are not members of the chamber and making sure they realize, hey, we need you to be successful. We need to keep you in the game as well. So great advice that you gave there. Chris, I want to switch gears a little bit and something I thought of this morning, an election year. What kind of impact do you see, and have you heard anything about voting and what may take place due to this epidemic?
Sure. So the presidential primary obviously was pushed back from last week. It's going to be pushed to May. Secretary of State Raffensperger has said right now that we're on all go for the May primary election season as well as the presidential. But he also said today that if we're still in a state of emergency, that he'll work with the governor and others, and he's already looking at dates in June if that becomes necessary. I think what we need to remember too in the middle of this is the way that it works in Georgia for the members of our Georgia House and Georgia Senate, right? So all of them are up for re-election. All of our congressmen and women in Georgia are up for re-election. But none of the members of the Georgia General Assembly can raise money as long as they're in session. So they can't go out, really do fundraisers to pay for a campaign. And yet the session was suspended. And so normally we'd be wrapping up the session this week or next week, and then everybody could raise their dollars and go out and campaign and have about a month to go. That's just not going to be the case. So we're seeing candidates around the state. Our incumbents are a little bit of a disadvantage because those candidates running against them can go raise money and do whatever they want to do, but our incumbents can't. And so they are trying to be more creative with online town halls and other things, just to continue to do constituent services. There's really not a lot of campaigning going on right now, and I think there's a sensitivity to it that's probably appropriate in this climate. But the fact is that we're going to have a huge number of new elected officials coming to the General Assembly just from the number of retirements. You've got every member of Congress in Georgia that's being challenged this year, some in the primary, all in the general. And then you've got two, premier Senate seats that will decide who controls the U.S. Senate. One a regular primary where you'll go vote for Senator Perdue and on the Republican side and any number of Democrats in May, and then the jungle primary in November, and then a runoff potentially in January. And so it really has kind of thrown everything up in the air, but the fact is we're still a democracy and we still have to go vote. I do appreciate Secretary of State Raffensperger. Again, I think he is ramping up the mail-in ballot efforts, so you'll be getting those in the mail. And while I mention mail-in, if I can, please don't forget to fill out your census forms.
Absolutely.
Census should be coming around right now. I did my census online yesterday. It took me about 15 minutes to answer the questions. But gosh, that's how we decide how much money is going to a lot of our rural communities. And if you don't get those numbers right, you're going to lose out on federal dollars. They're going to be so very necessary over the next few years in this recovery. So I know you asked me about elected, but don't forget about the census too.
You're absolutely right there, and not only those dollars, but representation. So vital that we fill out that census, and I know we have some emails already planned for this week. I believe Wednesday, the 1st, is Census Day.
And to your point too, Heath, I think what a lot of us forget is the last time we did the Senate, rural Georgia lost 2 Senate seats and several House seats. And that's what's at stake now. Yeah, the federal dollars are important, but yeah, if you don't have the right count, you could underrepresent in the Georgia General Assembly, which would make it harder for us to get the resources down into our rural communities. So it's a good point.
Absolutely. Chris, we're going to take one more commercial break, and then we're going to come back and wrap things up.
You're not going to do it? Come on. Just one time. He loves music and books. Don't you? You do. So I remember right before I was went to sleep, I was just praying, and I was like, God, please don't let me wake up to bad news about my baby. It was just a huge blessing because, I've never met these people before. This is my first child, and they were like family.
What would you say to one of the nurses if they were here now? I would hold that. Because there is one over here.
Oh.
Hey, how are you? Good. Hi, Brax.
So what was I saying? What would you say to one of the nurses if they were here?
I would just say thank you. I wasn't gonna do this. I know that you were just doing your job, so to speak, but you gave me everything.
There's a new place for senior care, a place with 24-hour valet service and a boutique salon, a place with all-day arts and crafts. It even has a day spa. A place that's so much like home because, well, it is home. Home Instead Senior Care, when you need personalized care in the comfort of home.
Well, and I tell you, it's, Governor Kemp said the other night on his town hall that you have to listen to the experts, right? The healthcare experts, the economic experts, and that's what we try to do. We look at all the trends in Georgia and nationwide. I do think we're in probably for another, at least through April and into early May, living under a continuing increase. And, if you look at what the health experts are saying, depending upon what ordinances are put in place, you're looking at for a peak anywhere from 2 weeks from now to 6 weeks to now. And so I do think it's going to be difficult to see kids back in school. I think it's going to be difficult for business really to start picking back up again until the end of May or as we get into June. My hope has been all along that we preserve that June, July, August hospitality season. It's so very important. That's going to help all of our hotels, our restaurants, our retail, our beaches. It's going to help them bounce back after this. And so that's going to be our focus. I do think we're in a recession right now. I think that recession is going to continue for some time, but I think the steepest part of the curve should bottom out sometime in the second quarter. So you'll have to remember, we're suffering right now. you're not going to see the results of that suffering for about 6 weeks when you look at the national trends. And so, every economist that we talk to and that we follow tells us consistently that by the middle end of third quarter, as we go into fourth quarter, the economy should be coming back. It won't come back to where it was by any stretch of the imagination, but it will start coming back. Businesses will be rehiring, business will be strong again. But I think what we have to remember is that Georgia had the 7th best, for 7 years in a row, we're the best place to do business. That's because of the hard work of Governor Kemp to lay a strong foundation for small business, hospitality, retail, as well as in recruiting new industry. And so all of that's still there. What we need to recover is the small business and get consumer confidence back. And that's going to be the critical part for us here as we go through the next few months in the summer, to remind people that Georgia is a great place to do business and to rebuild those entrepreneur ecosystems out there so that we can help businesses get jump-started. The other thing that this gives us an opportunity to do, and I hope that you'll think about this at the local level as well, is we know that in the next 10 years, there will be 39 million U.S. jobs lost to automation. Some of that's going to be expedited because of where we are in this crisis. So what are you doing to ramp up to get people retrained through this downturn so that when they come back, they have, stronger, better jobs and have longer longevity as well. So I don't know if I gave you a great picture there. It's going to be bad for a little while, but then it will get better. But we do need to realize we're going into a recession that might take a while to recover.
I think so, Chris, and I would agree with you there. I want to mention, you did mention Governor Kemp, and he and his staff and all of our leadership at the state level is doing a wonderful job here, even on the local level, and they're keeping us informed and engaged. But I got to give a shout out to you guys at the Georgia Chamber again as well, recently recognized as the Chamber of the Year for the United States Chambers, the American Chamber of Commerce award that you guys won. And again, you guys can continue to lead the way up there in a state, that we mentioned 7 years in a row, the best place to do business. So appreciate you guys, appreciate your time again today. I do have one more last question. Shelter in place. Do you see that becoming a statewide mandate in the near future, or do you think maybe not? What do you think about that?
I'm not going to speculate. I'm going to let Governor Kemp listen to his experts and make the best decision there. But despite if you have shelter in place or not, you still have essential business and services that have to operate. Somebody's got to bring your food to you. Somebody's got to grow that food. Somebody's got to process it. Somebody's got to drive the trucks to deliver it. Somebody's got to manufacture those masks, put them on a truck, deliver them, bring them from around the world. Healthcare workers, all these folks that are on the front lines every day, even the folks that are working at your grocery stores, they're the real heroes in all this. They much rather be home with their families right now. Instead, they're out making sure that we're happy, healthy, and safe. And so we need to remember them in our prayers, and we're going to focus on them, the impact that they're having, and then whatever Governor Kemp chooses to do, we're going to support him 100% because he's got, I think, the best interest of every community in Georgia on his mind. And I'm so pleased and absolutely thankful that we've had his steady-handed leadership through this crisis. And I'm confident going to bed at night knowing he's there running things.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, Chris. And I know you mentioned, our prayers, and we certainly need to keep our leadership lifted up in our prayers. I'm so thankful that we have a governor that's strong in his faith. I'm proud that I can say I know our Georgia Chamber president is strong in his faith, and certainly we are here as well, but we need to continue to lift one another up in prayer and encourage one another. And again, Chris, I want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your day today to help us make sure today and every day is a great day for business in Dublin and Lawrence County.